Hello, my Libra friends. This is Dr. Shiny. I feel like I have a very important reading for you today, as opposed to the ones that I've done so far. Um, this is a really strong message that I have today. If you haven't already been given, or if you haven't already looked at my introductory videos on how I approach tarot reading and things like that, you may want to do that to get an idea of what I'm trying to do here. And welcome back if you've returned, and welcome for the first time if you're new. Very happy that you decided to check me out. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, normally I do the current situation first, but what I'm going to do this time is a little bit different. I'm going to go with the past first. I'm going to go with what got you to where you are today, because it seems to be a little more intuitive this way. The Queen of Swords is what got you here. All right, so the Queen of Swords is a representation of like a really, really well-tempered intellect, but totally devoid of emotion. Okay, so now I can't say that any form of life or any form of thought or philosophy is incorrect, because it's not incorrect. It just may not be suiting to your thought streams and desires. We'll put it that way. So you have to look at it that way, that everybody's right in a way, but it's not always important for you to be right to get the thing that you actually want to get, right? So ambition can be a bad thing, and this actually is your overall message, but we'll get to that in a minute. Your current situation is the Ace of Swords, which says that because of how you've been, because of how you've relied solely on the intellect and facts and knowledge and that sort of thing, without feeling it too much, without being too enveloped in your emotions or whatever, or how you perceive, right? You have a lot of mobility. You have a lot of choices available, but what's influencing you is the devil, okay? Now, that sounds scary, or what's crossing you, it's the devil. The devil is not some entity that is stalking you and trying to get you to fail, or trying to steal from you or kill you or things like that. A lot of religions paint the devil in that light, but there's a whole nother school of thought. There's actually Luciferianism is a sect, sort of, basically, of Christianity. As opposed to Satanism. They're not the same thing. Satanism and Luciferianism are not the same thing. Luciferianism simply acknowledges the fact that if it wasn't for the devil, who puts these illusions in front of you that scare you, you'd never move forward. You'd never grow. You'd never move toward God, because if you take the assumptions of like the Old Testament, that you're by nature a sinful being, right? Then there's nothing that you can do to save yourself. There's nothing that you can do. Every desire that you have is a selfish, sinful desire. You want something for you. As much as you want to say that it's for other people, it's for you, so that you can be more comfortable in your environment, so that you can feel more accepted or like you belong, or whatever it is. It's an illusion. But that illusion is a good thing, because it drives you to improve. It drives you toward God in the context of religion, right? So he's a necessary thing. So some people revere him. Some people even go as far as to worship Lucifer, the angel of light or illusion or sight, right? Everything around you is an illusion. There is a bigger purpose, a bigger context to everything. And when you get fooled by the devil, you become, as you see in the picture, like a puppet. Everything that you do is not really going to work out the way that you intended it to. There's an ancient proverb that says, when the wrong man uses the right means work in the wrong way. And that's what you're going to be stuck in as long as you're falling for the delusion of the devil, or that things are exactly what they seem, because they're not, all right? Moving forward into your future, you have the Ten of Cups, which represents sort of this feeling of warm family, of belonging, of being content and happy and joyous and that kind of thing. That's in your future, but it's going to be up to you to get over what's crossing you to get to that place. So the devil is blocking you from feeling this this way, feeling fulfilled and that sort of thing. In your subconscious mind, we have the Knight of Wands. So the Knight of Wands is very impulsive. It's saying that you just sort of go for what you want without taking time to really consider how you feel or how it's going to make you feel, right? So this goes along with that swords energy that you have and what got you here, because you go through the motions of thinking about things in your head, about thinking about the situation, and then you think instantly that you know what the right decision is to make, and you just go for it. You do it. You don't really hesitate very much, but nothing ever really works out, and it feels like it's everyone else's fault that nothing works out, that if they would only understand this, or they would only do that, or whatever, you'd be fine, right? Well, in the Six of Cups, I'm sorry, in your crowning thoughts, we have the Six of Cups here. And the Six of Cups represents like fond childhood memories and nostalgia and that sort of thing. So whatever hurt or a negativity that you feel in the current time, it may be because you had a sort of idea that you were given by someone who you cared about, you loved very deeply as a child, and you really, really wanted that to be true, and you've never given it up. You've always clinged to a specific interpretation that you had when you were younger, and you didn't allow it to grow and develop and age with you. And so because of that, you find yourself in a very, very frustrated uh, state of existence where it feels like everything is just crap, that could be. Now, your advice for the current situation is the Four of Wands. Okay, now this suggests that you need to sort of balance your will a little bit. You need to take a lot more time and self-reflection to sort of understand the nature of the choices that you're making beyond just the little situation here. Things have larger consequences. And so also it's a feeling of contentment that this card represents, or like family. So you're being asked to stop worrying about all the things that you want and all these ideas that are in your head of like what would make you happy and what wouldn't make you happy, and take a moment to look around you and see how much you really have that no one else, like a lot of people really don't have. There are a lot of people who have everything that is required to be happy, but they're not happy. And then there are some people who have virtually nothing and they're entirely happy from every fabric of their being. And the difference between these two people is gratefulness. Because if you're not grateful for what you have, you're always going to want something else. The grass is always greener. In your current environment, we have justice. And this again cements in the idea that you're sort of causing your own problems here by setting expectations that are not realistic, or by putting forth effort in a way that it actually knocks your legs out from underneath you. You shoot yourself in the foot, for example. So you may be obsessed with an argument about proving somebody wrong, or proving a point or something like that. And through that argument, which you start because you actually somehow really do care about this person, but through that argument, you alienate them to the point where they don't feel like you care about them, and so they don't project that they care about you quite as much, and that hurts your feelings, you see? So it's about sort of, well, we'll get to this in a minute. What's in your fears card is the Judgment. And so what this is saying is that you're very, very content with believing that all of your problems are caused by other people. And because of your intellect and how sharp your intellect is, there is very little that anyone around you can do to beat your intellect, to challenge that idea, and to show you that you're actually causing almost all of your own problems by the way that you're looking at the situation, or by how you are pushing people away who really care about you and are trying to help, and that type of thing. So your fear here is that you're going to have to, well, hello, Tony. Your fear here is that you're going to have to assume sort of total responsibility. This is your karma. This is your doing. You did this. and everybody wants to save face. Nobody wants to feel that way. But the longer you put off this realization, the more it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks when it happens, because it will happen. Either that or you'll just maybe die or something like that, which I think that's unfortunate if you choose that road, so I hope you don't. Um, your overall message is the Five of Swords, which is very, very much, what this whole thing has been saying the whole time. You've got to pick and choose your battles. You've got to find a view of the world that makes it so that it's not important for you to be right. It's important for you to love. You see what I'm saying? Those are totally two different things there. And you have an abundance of being right. You're always right. But what you're not always is feeling how other people feel about that situation, because of the Queen of Swords, because you've sort of taken an intellectual way of looking at things, or you think you have a common sense approach where you're just cutting through all the BS, so to speak, and telling it how it really is. That doesn't necessarily do anything to make it how you want it to be. We'll put it that way. So in your arguments and everything like that, just keep in mind, don't push away people who really care about you, or get this like animosity or this feeling of being a victim, because that's going to hold you back. That's going to keep you from happiness. There's really two types of people in the world. There's people who view themselves, or there are people who view themselves as a victim of the world, and then there are people who understand that they are the world. That any change that you want to make, if you want to be happier, or if you want the world around you to be a happier place, you have to be happier. If you want the world around you to be a more caring place, you have to care. And that's the only way that you can really accomplish that goal. Because if you go to other people and try to tell them that they're the ones that should be fixing all this stuff, they're going to look at you like an idiot. They're going to think that you have no clue, And to be honest with you, that's how it looks, because you're possibly like sitting around under this dark cloud moping and that sort of thing, instead of like just doing what you really need to do. You're making a big deal. You're making mountains out of molehills, and like becoming combative far too readily about perhaps a specific issue, or maybe just in general in your life. So keep in mind, keep your eye on the prize. This card is, your overall message is all about the negative side of ambition, right? About take for example, like Albert Einstein. He was incredibly ambitious, right? He created the atom bomb, but imagine for a minute, so because he didn't actually use the atom bomb, right? He created like nuclear energy and fission and that type of thing. He didn't drop the bomb on Japan, right? So other people in that context did. But imagine if he had invented this atom bomb and just out of his laboratory had said, well, I've invented this thing and it's awesome and it's the best thing ever, and all the problems in the world today seem to be coming out of the Middle East, so why don't I just get rid of the Middle East? And you can see very obviously how that doesn't work, but we do that on a very small scale with our interactions between people that are around us, our friends, our family, and everything like that. We do that on a small scale all the time and don't realize it, because we're not considering the emotions of the other people that are involved. We're not considering that our family hurts a great deal when they watch us hurt. And so they may come across as judgmental. They may come across as telling you things that you don't want to hear, or things that you know not to be true. But learn to filter those things that you know not to be true from other people, to figure out what their intent is. What are they trying to get you to realize? What are they trying to get you to see, So I think this is a very important message, because I view this message as identifying the sort of affliction that has run through the Western world and the Western way of thinking, and of analyzing things with just figure instead of background, saying, well, it's obviously a bad thing to kill a child or something like that. Well, what if that child was Hitler? Like you can't always make that assumption, that You don't know. You're not God. You don't have the master plan. The master plan is somebody else's thing. So everything that happens in the world that is the most negative thing you can think of has led you to the place where you are right now. It's led you to beautiful things, like beautiful things that would have never existed if it weren't through those hard times, you know? So keep that in mind. Keep your focus. Don't get too discouraged by the world around you. Take time for yourself. Take time in self-reflection, you know? Um, Figure out why you're upset. Why are people bothering you? You know, and until you know that, until you really know why, you're not going to be able to move forward. You know, so it's important that you do that, and that's what we have to do as a society, as a culture. This is moving into the new era of unconditional love uh, of your neighbors and those around you. You know, you may have had some environment. You know, coming up, we came from a generation, our generation came from a generation who had different uh, not necessarily goals, different ways of achieving what they wanted to achieve, different visions of how the right thing was to be done. And you have a new version of that. So don't just simply be pissed off because this old version of the world exists still. Go out there and live your version. Show the old people that their ways are not necessary anymore, that there's a better way, there's love, you know, there's a possibility of moving through without just like hammering your will into other people. And that's your or without causing or invading a foreign country to secure oil reserves or anything like that. No, I'm not getting into political things, but that's your overall message. It's a message that we need as a culture. We need to take accountability for our actions. Um, we need to understand that the hardship that we put ourselves in is the hardship that we put ourselves in. And if you're always attracted to people who, you know, want to have like sex on the first date or something like that, then it's your own fault if you find that none of these people really has the emotional depth or ability to feel like you do, you know? Um, that's it. And that's all there is to it. And really what you're doing is you're fooling yourself into thinking you have more emotional depth than you really do, because you don't have any. No, I'm being hyperbolic. Keep in mind that these tarot readings are given with the feeling or with the idea of tough love in them. So don't be offended by anything that I say. I'm trying to give you a window out. Okay, so uh, I love you all very much, and I hope to see you again soon. I hope you come back. I hope this hasn't really been a little bit too chastisement for you. But anyway, if you have any questions or comments, or if this reading just totally did not click with you at all, that's a big possibility. You could basically be seeing in this reading the opposite of how your life is going, but you could be seeing how people very close to you are operating and why that's screwing you up through this. So that's why it sounds the way it sounds, in my view anyway. But anyway, thank you very much, and until next time, this is Dr. Shiny, and I hope you all are doing very well and you have lots of growth and love and laughter in your future. Bye-bye.